guys? It's your boy Brennan, aka Drip, and Tanner, and the rest of the DDD gang at Paradise, back with another Locals deck profile. And today's deck profile, we got mine and Tanner's Swordsoul deck. This is my list, but it's his deck. He ran pretty much the same list, but there's a couple of tech cards that we'll explain along the way, which is different from mine. But we went undefeated today, and I was really impressed with myself, honestly, because, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say the deck's kind of straightforward, which for the most part it kind of is, but I've only really been play testing with the deck for the past, like, 24 hours, but we did good, and the deck did very well. Actually, I don't know, I really enjoy this deck. But let's go ahead and get into the list, guys. For the most part, a lot of it is going to be kind of cookie cutter, so there's not much need to explain. Swordsoul, we got 3 Moye. I'm gonna put them I'm gonna put the teenies over here on the other side, so you kind of see something when I get there. 3 Long, 2 Taye, and myself personally, I like 2 Ecclesia. I know a lot of people max out on it. The only reason I don't is sometimes I want to blind second. I don't want to go second. I mean, I can go second, but I don't want to main go second. So, like, I don't want to see too many names. And I know she is another name, and I know a lot of people really want to get to a level 4, and she is a tuner. It comes up, but I don't want to clog. I would rather see Tinnies or other names in my hand instead of playing into Ash, because I want to play, myself personally, I want to play into as least amount of hand traps as possible, and so just pretty much just raises your ceiling, I feel, in my opinion.
You also never want to normal summon her, really, because that's exactly. She's Ash and Perm. It's the worst normal summon in the deck, so 2 makes sense.
Yeah. Which I'll get to more of that here in a second. And then for the Tinnies, we got 3. 3, I really do think 3 is necessary. And then 2, and then 1. On this again, I understand that a lot of people play 3 Adhara just to see the name and consistency and all that. But myself personally, I feel like out of all of these, Adhara is the one that's like doesn't do enough for you if you hard draw an opening hand unless you see another name. So basically, if you see Adhara and just a bunch of Swordsoul, it doesn't really do nothing for you unless you see one of these or a way to get to one of these in order to basically make a Synchro 8 before you normal summon or do whatever. So, but I do like that. I do like her effect, or its effect, basically mid to late game. On top of that, too, I wanted to kind of, for consistency reasons, I wanted to mirror match the cards. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, and 1 and 2. So. For just consistency reasons, I felt like 2 was bad. 2 was good, and obviously we do play the Dragon Circle, so that's why we run the Shatana, which I feel like is necessary at this point. But 2 was perfect for me. I don't know if he runs 2 or not.
I run 2 too, because like you don't want to clog on Tinnies.
Yeah.
When you clog on Tinnies, it's really not going to do a whole lot for you. These are the primarily good Tinnies. This is only really good whenever you played Hulk. But right now, all it's good is for follow-up, basically, or just being a name to put on board.
Exactly.
So I think 2 is the best number for this, because we're already playing Dragon Circle, so we're not worried about seeing like Tinnies or monsters. It's just, you don't want to open up multiple Tinnies and just have a handful of Tinnies and not be able to go second.
Yeah, like if I was open multiple, I would rather have these than that, honestly. Just my personal opinion, personal preference. Definitely a Shuna. But like I said, mirror match, like he said too, since Rorodon's gone, this one's less important. I forgot to mention that. I'm glad you did. But that's mine and his ratios on that. Moving on to the next and the rest, yada yada yada. We got the hand traps, which is kind of where mine and his list deficiates or whatever changes.
It really doesn't matter that much though, because it's a flex spot hand trap.
Yeah. 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, 3 Droll, and the other one is 3 Droplet. It is basically hand trap / go second card. The only thing different, I think, between his and my list is the Droll. My outlook on it is it wasn't really a locals meta call. It's the fact that I know a lot of people are going to say when it comes to branded, it doesn't do that much, but I feel like it does more against branded than anything else because, one, I know that deck inside and out because it's normally the deck I main, and this slows them down to where if for some reason they add the Branded Lost off of the whatchamacallit, the Albert, then they don't get as much follow-up off the Branded Fusion if they already have the Branded Fusion, because it forces them to go Albion instead of Lebellion, so which means they can't get a Tragedy Engrave in order to search the ad-lib, so it forces them to open the ad-lib, or their Chimera is not going to get as much benefits as it normally would if they got a Tragedy Engrave, so it actually hurts them more so than not. On top of that, it also shits on birds, and I can't stand that deck, so I really just want to cut them off immediately after the first Robina if I don't see these other two here, these other 6 cards here. So I want to just completely end that deck. And Drytron is becoming more of a popular deck since it like won the Nats over in like the Italy or whatever, and it's just becoming an overall more relevant deck anyway. So this kind of helps you out with that deck too. And there's other decks that this card kind of hits against, but like for an example, it does a little bit on the adventure stuff, kind of from time to time if you hit it at the right time. It does more for me personally. That's the reason why I opted to run it. But what is it that you ran instead of this?
Either Ogre or Veiler. It's just depending on what I feel like the locals are going to play. Ogre is good against Adventure and Punk and whatnot, and the same thing for Veiler. But Droll also is, like I said, meta. I think these two, the 3 Imperm and the 3 Droplets, these are mandatory in this deck because cards like Token Collector exist, and you need to go second and be able to out Token Collector. Ash is self-explanatory because it's the best hand trap in the game. So it's all self-explanatory. These are like the 3 effect slots that we just the minor hint are different than, but it honestly can be any 3 hand trap. But like the other 9, I feel like those are staple and they have to be like that.
Another thing too is a lot of people still to this day argue that. Which to a degree I can understand that Droplet's a bad card in this deck because you don't really have nothing to discard. But him and myself, we're maxing out on the Dragon Circle. So, or just not even Dragon Circle. Basically, whenever we chain any of our spells, you can just send your spells for free. Or if you open up too many tinnies, you can just send the tinnies and plus off of that. This card is not as bad in this deck as people think, but like he said, you have to run this card because of Token Collector and stuff like that, and Imperm in a lot of situations is not enough. And another thing, too, on Droll I want to mention real quick is another reason why I didn't play Veiler myself personally is even though this plays into talents, I didn't want to play into talents. Yes, this still plays into talents, but I would rather them shuffle a card back or take control of something than get pluses by adding even more, because if they had full combo already anyways, and then I just hit them with like a Veiler or something, they just plus even harder, and I wanted to try to minimize that as much as possible. But Veiler is still a very good option, definitely against the Adventure Engine and stuff like that. Like he said, this threat is just the most flex spot that you could, like, you run what you want.
Ogre, Veiler, anything that it's more meta/local dependent.
Which in Sprite format, I think these will honestly they might become Crow, and these might be swapped out for Dark Ruler, or the Crow might become Dark Ruler, and then the Imperms will probably become Crow. It depends all on that format, but we can talk about more of that when we get there, and probably have an updated list and stuff by then. But onto the spells, because at the time of recording this, we're only
comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow, so it's not even full swing yet. 3 Emergence, it's self-explanatory. You need 3.
Best Swordsoul card.
Yeah, exactly. 3 Circle. This card is disgusting, and I know a lot of people run it at 2. I like it at 3 because I want to see it. I feel safe when I see it. On top of that, if you set this in certain situations when your opponent's trying to break your board, it helps you plus and provide yourself for a follow-up while they're trying to break your board, and that is necessary. And one of the weakest standpoints for Swordsoul outside of board presence denial is a follow-up if you don't have a graveyard with tinnies in it. So this will kind of help you set yourself up for that too. So, and it's an extender, and obviously does the dodging the Imperms and the Veiler and stuff.
Yeah, hand traps are more prevalent right now, and it just helps you play your own hand traps, because you get hand trapped on your Moe or Tai, you're in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
And also, Vessel is a very bad card right now.
Yeah.
I think Vessel was good whenever Auroradon was a thing, and you were trying to prioritize doing tinnies before you did Swordsoul plays. But now that Hulk is not really a thing on this deck anymore, you really need your Swordsoul effects to resolve on field. And this card just lets you plus by doing it. Like they hit your Moe, you switch it out for Shathana. It's very self-explanatory. It's very, very good in this deck.
Yep. It replaces itself and dodges so much, and it just, I don't know, it's a very good card, and I like it at 3. You run 3 too, right?
Yes, and if you get dropletted or if you get dark rulered, you can send your Shisha to add follow up like a Taya. So it's just another thing if you draw it and don't use it during your turn.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, buddy. It's another beautiful thing about it. And then 2 God card, and then the last card in the deck is the Blackout. This card, Pot of Greed, and then helps your Changing or whatever it is.
It's also good that you're playing. He was talking about drop earlier, how Swordsoul worries about not having the cards in hand. This just lets you plus for free. Like you play this card, it really doesn't matter if you banish the Blackout. If this resolves, most of the time you win. It's just draw 2 for this deck essentially. You don't have any repercussion.
100%. 100%. Yeah. That's it for the main deck. Clean 40. This deck, I know for certain, I really wanted to keep it at 40 myself personally.
Yeah, you never want to go over 40 in this deck because consistency is key.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, when it comes to the main deck, and I think the main deck and extra deck, the only thing different that him and I were running differently
was just the 3 hand
was
traps.
the 3 hand traps
flex spot.
Tokens. 3 monk. 3 monk is mandatory. If you're not running 3 monk, then you have a lot of pressure to try to end the game within 3 turns, 2 to 3 turns, or you're in a heap of trouble.
I've had 3 monk come up multiple times for me. It's necessary, like you said. Like you have to have this because it's just a way to keep your tennies rolling and your resources keep going. It's a must.
Yep. And then the 1 shaman. Shaman is really good. It basically fills the void that Summit provides to a degree. Gives you a +1, and there's some cheeky plays you can do by looping and going off with certain combos. But yeah, it's a very good card. And
late game, this card with tennies and reviving like a Shisha or a Sinister is insane.
Yeah, yeah. Emergency button basically just to pretty much end the game. And then another flex spot that's actually different. I forgot to mention. I thought our extracts were the same.
Just 1 card.
Just 1 card. I opt to run the Link 3 Tinny. It's not the fact that I don't like the Light Charmer. It's just sometimes when my opponent will activate mine or something, or in a late game situation, if I've already burned through my Shaman, summoning this in a mid to late game in a simplified game state is really like crazy because it breaks boards and it's hard to out because they can't out it with an effect monster by attacking over it, and you just basically keep popping stuff on like your turn because you have at this point you 2 to 3 normal monsters in the graveyard. So it's really gross what this deck can. I mean, what this card can do in mid to late game, and if they activate mine over like with them having 1 monster, you can just link into this and then pop the mine and whatever. I mean, not pop the mine, but pop something else, or just pass. And then it's hard for them to out this because they lose the mine. And then you just have multiple pops during the next turn. And then eventually, if you didn't burn through that, you can just make this and then bring back whatever you just linked away with your with this, basically. So, but he has a very good argument when it comes to the Light Charmer.
The reason I play Lina in this spot is just if you get Nibiru'd, which is a very relevant hand trap right now because Punk exists. You can take any Tinny monster and the token and make a Lina, and Lina swing into the Nib, and then you can add Ecclesia and tribute to the Ecclesia for like Taya or Mogi, whatever your hand depends on. Yeah. It's just basically just being able to play through hand traps. That's the only reason I play it.
Yeah.
But like, it does come up, but I feel like it's just this spot's just kind of situational, honestly. So it's just whatever you want at that point.
Yeah, whatever you want. If you're trying to play around Nib, go with the Lina. If you're trying to play around / through Mystic Mine, as long as they control a monster, you go this route, and it's fine. This is, I think, the only flex spot in the extra deck, I feel, personally.
Yeah.
And then for the 8s, 2 Shisho, standard. 2 Boxia, standard. I feel like the second one is necessary. I know some people cut the 1. I don't know why they cut the 1, because sometimes you have to burn it for the first one on your actual turn 1 in order to like get certain
Bring
cards
back the
out,
Mo-Yi.
bring back the Mo-Yi, and sometimes if you're playing against like Drytron or something like that, you need this, and you have access to Adhara. Use this to bring back the Adhara, and then Synchro for whatchamacallit, Chaofeng.
I definitely think this is the best card in this extra deck.
Almost definitely, 110%.
Just because you go with Taya and the token, and you have 2 spins, and then it just spawns 3 Borns, which is insane. And you send the Mo-Yi whenever you synchro into it with the Taya, so you get to spin back, and then you get to bring the Mo-Yi back, and it just lets you go into Shisha or whatever you need, Draco Berserker.
I had a situation like that come up for me too against Eric, with this bringing back the Mo-Yi. It's just overall, I think without this card, the deck probably wouldn't be nowhere near as good as it is.
I've even considered a third of that at times, like, honestly. It's such a great card.
And then the last 8 is the one Draco Berserker. This card's actually really good. I haven't got this like summon it yet, but it's a very good card. If you like open just straight gas, you can basically end on this, and then your whatever 10 you want, and then Chaofeng if you want to. So it's a very good card. And it's the constant, it's infinite attack buff is nice too. One Chaofeng because of Nib, and Drytron, and just anything else light, because you can make this against Branded, and it kind of hurts them a little bit with Lebellium because they don't get no way to shuffle back their resources, and it forces them to go straight into Albion and burn one of their cards. And a lot of Branded decks nowadays are not actually running the, they're not respecting Dragon Link, first of all, and they're not wanting the extra buff, the extra like consistency, like myself personally when I run Branded, so they're not running the Albilinitus. So if you're forcing them to burn their first Albion, that means they only have 1 card left to try to out this, which it forces them to go -1 in my personal opinion when it comes to consistency terms. But and it comes up against random decks. But yeah,
I think that card is the only reason like 3 Adhara is considered just to make this.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides that though, like, this card's broke. You play this against Drytron, you win. Like you said, it's just a straight floodgate on leg, and those are always really broken in this game.
Yeah, definitely, since he's kind of thick too. He's 2,800. Yeah. And then for the 10s, 1 Baron, 1 Sinister Long Young, and then 1 Ching Ying. This is very standard. For some reason tonight, Baron came up more so than any other one, because like in certain situations I felt like when I needed multiple negates and my hand wasn't nice enough to me, so like I feel like some of the decks I was playing, I had enough gas to play through the 1 interruption I had. Even though this one would have burned them pretty significantly, I don't think they would have cared about the burn. They could have just played through whatever and broke my board, and then I wouldn't really have no follow-up, as where this provides a follow-up and a negate. I'm not saying this is better than this. This is better than Baron. But in certain situations, Baron does come up to where it's more necessary.
This is better game 2. This is better game 1, because game 2 is when they usually put Nib in, and you want to primarily make this over this. I don't think he never really comes up for me anymore.
Really?
He does sometimes, but like not often enough compared to these 2.
Not only that, I feel like going first, Long Youngin's better.
Yes, exactly.
And then when you're trying to just push through boards and ensure like solidify that you have interruptions and follow up, Baron is good. So like you said, go 2. And sometimes if you can't push for game, make Baron over this.
Because Baron Shisha Blackout it's always good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always good.
Exactly. And then even though it's a 7, the last one on the deck is Yazi. I haven't made it, but it's there if when
it comes up, it comes up. It's for like you synchro Long Young and Adhara into this to out token collector and play the game. Yep. It's basically all it's there for.
And it pops and replaces itself with a name. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it comes up sometimes, but not. It's good.
Yeah. The side deck is completely optional. It's up to you. My side deck is I'm working with what I had, which I'll explain more when I get there. For start off is the Gamma package. I feel like this package is too good not to main deck or side deck right now. If you can afford it, afford the room for it, this package is very good. And this package single-handedly has won me games because it's just so broken. If you draw this with like another hand trap and then combo, I know that sounds situational as hell, but it's kind of not with this deck. It comes up
because you play 40 cards, so you're playing a very consistent deck. So seeing a 3-up is not that hard to do.
Yep. So I don't know. It's really nice in that regard. 2 Nib. I would run 3 probably if I had it, but I only own 2. Nib is
Broke.
broke.
So good.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And then my own little spicy tech is Gravity Collapse. Card's really gross. I played it in my Virtual World decks. If you've seen it, it's basically just turn ender. It's Solemn Judgment, but without having to pay life points, and you just end your turn. So it's really free. Arguably, people would probably say this should be Rivalry, which you're kind of not
Rivalry,
wrong.
yeah.
But I like Gravity Collapse, and if I owned Rivalry, these three probably would be Rivalry, but I still would probably main deck 2. But the Evenly is just another way to help break boards. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, if you don't really want to burn your battle phase in Swordsoul because it can easily OTK. I get that, but when I play this deck, and if I play a lot of decks, I try to play them all mid-range, to where if I can't push for game or I want to play it passive, I want to play them all mid-range. So I want to break the board, gain control of the game, and then push later if I can. So that's kind of what I do with this. I would rather break the board, gain control, and then push for later on.
Not only if you resolve evenly, and you resolve backseat after that, you're gonna win. Like, majority of the time is like, if you resolve this card and you're able to get your Swordsoul engine running, you don't care about your battle phase.
Yep.
Because you'll just kill them the next turn. Swordsoul needs one battle phase to win a duel. And if you put a Shisha or a Barone on the board after you evenly your opponent, they won't be able to play through it.
Exactly. Basically, that's my standpoint too. Like, just gain control of the game, and after that, just carry on. And the last three on the side is the Red Reboot for D barrier, dumb shit.
You need to play that.
And then the Duster, and then
the
sack, the trade 2 for 1. It's really nice. That's it. Side deck is completely like up to you. If you wanted to run
let's say
anti-spell or Rivalry, then the engine would cut would be this engine, which you could cut this, and it can become it could be the 3 Rivalry.
It could be like the 3 anti-spell and then the 3rd nib. Like,
third nib.
It's so interchangeable. Like, side deck is very versatile when it comes to Swordsoul, because the deck does so much going second in its own engine.
Yep.
That it's just more or less just power cards at that point. So it's whatever you want.
My personal opinion, I think, depending on how the format goes, I think Anti-Spell is a very good card, but I think next format, it might be kind of like falling out a little bit. Rivalry would be kind of better, my personal opinion, because Anti-Spell tier limits just make their fusions without spells, and then Sprite, all they need is names and levels, so they don't really use spells that much, even though their one extender could sometimes help them get a body on board, but their entire deck for the most part is actually just normal summons. So Anti-Spell could be situational, but only deck I think it would actually probably hurt would be Branded, because the Flunder doesn't care really, Sprite doesn't care, tier elements won't care. So Dragon Link maybe, but it's still an option. It'll be up to you if you want to run Rivalry or Anti-Spell.
I just look at Anti-Spell as the concept of getting Dark Rulered, because that's going to be a very popular card. Dark Rulered or Droplet. Because Swordsoul's board is very fragile to a Droplet, a Dark Ruler No More, a Lightning Storm, Raigeki. Like, big power spell cards really can hurt you a lot in the deck, and that's the only reason I think Rivalry is just justified. But like you said, it could fall. It just depends on how people's decks start to shape whenever the format changes. We're going to go to a big format change after this, so but Rivalry is definitely a staple in the side deck, I think, coming up.
Yep. But that's it for the main deck, extra deck, and side deck, guys. You know me, I always show tournament side decks whenever I play in a tournament. The deck is amazing. Thanks to Tanner for letting me run it. I definitely want to try to get my own cards for him now, because the deck is amazing. Yeah, so shout out to him for that. It's a beautiful playmat we won.
Command Knight.
and his beautiful fit Command Knight. Shout outs to Paradise Gaming for our locals. If you're ever in the Charleston area, come on down. Outside of that, hope you all have a wonderful night, morning, evening, whenever you're watching this video. Hope you all are staying safe out there in the age of COVID, I guess, monkeypox, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Whatever we're at.
Whatever we're at now, there's always something. But it's your boy Drip, Brendan, Tanner, Eric, Paradise, Chris, signing out. Peace.